It's nice to virtually meet all of you. I'm going to share my screen in a second, but I'm also going to share the link of the doc I'll be sharing with you today. Let me know if you have problems accessing it. You can ask your questions in here, and we'll go through everything. As a background, let me just share my screen here. There we go. All right, you should all be able to see that. And I'll have both windows open so I can kind of see what's going on here. Okay, great. Awesome. So how to get hired virtually. Everything has changed, obviously, because of COVID. And we're going to go through some tips and tricks about excelling on your job search in this time period. So first and foremost, my name is Ketan. It's pronounced Ketan, and I'm the founder of HireClub. We offer career coaching to help you get your head in your career. We started as an organic community of 25 friends, and now we're over 33,000 professionals. And we help you get matched with a career coach to help you get ahead in your job search, or become a better manager, or become a better founder. You can learn more at HireClub.com. But let's break into, how to get hired virtually, right? Now let me know if this font size is okay. I zoomed in for everybody, so I hope that's okay for everybody. So your job search is a funnel. If you're in marketing, you're familiar with what funnels are. But at the top is your resume. And wherever you're having a problem in your job search, you want to figure out where you're having that problem and improve that part of the funnel. So if you're not getting responses to job applications, you want to work on your resume. If you're not getting past interviews, you want to work on your interview skills, right? And if you're not getting offers you like, it's your interview and start negotiation skills, right? And so you want to figure out where you are in the funnel, where you're having the problem, so you can focus on that. We're going to be talking about all parts of that funnel today and how to improve those parts. But most people typically have the biggest problem on the first step of the funnel, right? It's your resume. And we'll go through that in a second. And then the second big one is interviews, right? That's probably the biggest, the second part of where people get stuck in the funnel. The last part often doesn't have much as issues because you have an offer and hopefully you've made progress on that. But you want a wide funnel at the top, right? You want something where you're really getting a lot of inbounds, your resume is getting results. A good number is if you're sending out 10 resumes, you want at least 1 to 2 callbacks from that, right? So 10, 20% is good. 30% is great, as you're doing fantastic. Don't beat yourself up if it's too much less than that. But your resume should also be tailored for each job, right? Now, what we always talk about in coaching is the skills to do a job are very different from the skills to get a job, okay? And this power is learnable, right? One, you can get a coach. Every Jedi has a master. And you don't have to do this alone. One of the biggest myths in getting hired is that you have to do this alone. But it's great to have support. Ask your friends, ask old bosses or mentors, ask coworkers, right? Doing your job search, whether virtual or in person, with friends and accountability partners or coaches is always a fantastic way, right? So let's talk about the main 4 skills. Oh, what the heck just happened? Well, that's interesting. Give me 1 second. Technical difficulties there. 1 second. There we go. Thank you, Google. Boy, everything's being slow. Anyway, so there are 4 main jobs, kind of parts that you want to think about, right? And the first one in your job search is perseverance. I know that might sound obvious, but this is actually one of the most important ones. So what is perseverance, right? The first thing is pacing yourself. This is a marathon, not a sprint. Before COVID, the average job search in the US was 6 months. During COVID, we're seeing people take a year, 9 months. It takes a while. It's just a tough market. It has nothing to do with you. Don't beat yourself up about it. But it does take time. And it's just a natural part of what we're going through right now. And that's just what's going to happen, right? But what I want you to do as part of your pacing yourself is setting a job search schedule. So what I typically recommend, you don't have to be pounding the pavement or the virtual pavement 8 hours a day. What I recommend is starting in the mornings. I prefer that. I often say 7 a.m., 9 a.m. weekday mornings. That's when you're applying to jobs. That's when you're doing resume updates. That's when you're doing networking. And then take a break, right? Take a walk, go outside, take care of yourself. Then you can do networking emails later in the day. Networking events like this, like today's event is a fantastic one. Take time to eat healthy food. Basically, I want you to take care of yourself because this is a time period where a lot of people have a lot of struggle, right? They're not getting responses. They're worried about money. They're worried about health. And that makes it really hard to succeed in your job search. So set a schedule, stick to it. At the rest of the time, take rest. The top athletes in the world, they take breaks. That's how you get high performance, right? If you're an Olympic athlete, there's a day of the week where you're taking a break. Job search is no different, right? It's a very hard thing to do. It can be a lot of work. It can break you down. So pace yourself, take rest, okay? I often say mental health comes first. These are really dangerous times with our mental health and all the anxiety and stress we feel. Your job search is likely to be longer right now than it typically would be. So, exercise, eat right, be good to yourself. What I want you to work on is being the best version of you, right? People hire people that they enjoy working with. And if you're feeling down in the dumps or you're having a hard time, you're stressed out, it's hard to have that energy be out there when you're doing interviews. And you're at your best when you take care of your mental health, right? Watch things that make you feel positive, funny shows, avoid doom scrolling Twitter. But, your mental health is probably one of the most important parts in your job search. And I don't want to, minimize that because this is where most people struggle because they might have a great resume, they might have great interview skills, but if you don't have the perseverance to last what could be 3 to 6 months or more, that makes it really tough. And I know it's not easy. It's not that people just started and they stop, but the part, CC, for someone who's dealing with a child and multiple children at home, I totally get you. The schedule can be flexible to you, right? I'm recommending 2 or 3 hours to focus on the job search, not the whole day. So if you get 1 hour in the morning, 1 hour in the evening, I totally get it. With kids and other things, it makes it really hard, to kind of get out there and make a schedule. But yeah, make the schedule work for you, right? Make sure that you're being taken care of. And I totally get it. We all have needs at home with homeschooling. That's really tough. All right, so let's go into the networking aspect, okay? Whether it's virtual or in person, networking is the #1 skill for job searching, okay? People hire through trust. That's the whole goal of the hiring process. I trust you, or if someone refers you, I trust that person, so hence I trust you. There's data that show only 15% of jobs are closed on job boards. So when you're actually out there are applying for jobs, you're applying for a small percentage of availability, right? Meeting people is more important than applying for jobs, okay? And right now, it's still as important because companies are having a hard time hiring themselves, right? They're going through changes, dealing with remote hiring and remote interviewing. So making those connections, getting connected to people, talking to people is super important. I hear you, but most days there's no me time. I totally understand you. I know it's not easy. So there's a couple ways to work on your networking, okay? So what I call is called having admirer calls, right? These are people that have the job title you want. So let's say you're going for product management, find some product managers, find their LinkedIn, find their Twitter handle, find articles they've written, and ask them what they love about their job. Read their content, respond to their content, right? Make it a conversation, ask them questions, right? And ask insightful questions, right? People want to work with smart people. They want to know how you think. And you asking someone who's doing the job you might want will help you create and ask good questions, right? A flattery and 15-minute calls can get you very far, right? And one thing I recommend when you're doing these calls, I know some people call them informational interviews. I actually don't prefer that. I just call them admirer calls. It's just people you admire, right? Hey, I love what you're doing. I would love to talk to you about how you got into this, right? Don't ask them for a job outright. That's like asking for a marriage on a first date, right? You wouldn't do that. You have to show value before you can earn value, right? That's a really important thing. I know a lot of times you're stressed and you want to get that job, but make those connections. It's really more about creating friendships. I know people call it networking. It's really about creating friendships, right? Aim for reaching out to 3 to 5 people a week. And you can test out these emails, right? You can send them via Twitter, you can send them via LinkedIn, you can send them via direct email. Change the content of I give you an example right here. I did it based on Melinda. Hey, Melinda, I see you started Tech Inclusion. I think what you have done is incredible. I love how you're connecting an inclusive audience to amazing opportunities. I'm considering starting a conference about immigrants in tech. Do you have 15 minutes Thursday or Friday where I could learn what worked for you? So a couple things I'm doing there. I obviously know the work Melinda's doing. I'm showing flattery for it. And I make a really clear ask. I say how long and what days, right? And so be really specific in your ask. Don't do this thing of like, can you pick your brain? Everyone's busy right now. Everyone's having a hard time, making time for things. Be really specific. And you're just asking what worked for them, right? You're not saying, get me a job. You're not saying, I'm looking at this position. You're really talking about, hey, what's working for you? What do you like about your job? What is your day like? What are your challenges? Oh, I saw that you rolled out this feature at your company. How did this feature work, right? So Jesse has a question. Do you have any alternatives to 15-minute calls? I feel bad asking people for even more screen time. They don't have to be video calls. In fact, I don't often suggest doing video calls as your first interaction for these admirer calls. I call them calls on purpose. You can say, hey, we can get on Zoom, but we can turn off the video. You can just send a phone number. You don't need to be on screen. And in fact, I think most people are happy to do things on screen. You're right. Yeah, Melinda has a great response. Yeah, exactly. And so really do what feels comfortable for you in terms of the ask. And one of the things I'll say, Jesse, the job search is about putting yourself out there. The worst that can happen is someone says no, right? That's the worst that can happen, right? It's not a bad thing that you're putting yourself out there. In fact, this is part of like the funnel, right? You're going to try a message. You're going to see if you get response. If you don't, try somebody else, right? So it's one of the things in the job search I think is important. I should have written this down. I don't want you to focus on the end result. I want you to focus on the journey of your job search. Are you getting better responses? Are people responding to you quicker? Is your messaging clearer? Right? So don't worry about getting a job. Worry about, are you doing better at the process of the job, right? Yeah, Imran, great question. Yeah, if you don't ask, you don't get. That's very true, right? So the other one that's important is tell everyone and their auntie you are looking for a job. There is no shame in looking for a job. Job hunting is something everyone experiences. And with COVID, I don't remember the numbers right now, something like 29 million people are unemployed or have lost their job. And when you put yourself out there, other people will know. In fact, that's one of the reasons we started HireClub. We started as a Facebook group. People could tell that they're looking for jobs, or they could post jobs they're hiring for. And this is how those connections get made. In fact, it's what's called third-party connections, where the vast majority of jobs are closed. It's usually not your friend that's hiring, your friend of a friend that's going for it. But if someone doesn't know that you're looking for work, then they can't help you. Right? So when you're at the grocery store, when you're on LinkedIn, when you're on your Twitter, when you're on your Facebook, whatever it is, Instagram, just say, hey, I'm looking for a job. Here's the job I'm looking for. I'm looking for customer success. I've been doing it 9 years and I love helping people succeed, with SaaS products. The more people you have on your job searching team, the better, right? Do not do your job search alone. It makes it super hard. So Jay has a question. Would it be possible to refer to this doc following the presentation? Yes, please. You can use this link, as the presentation anytime. Yeah. So the other thing is get a job search buddy. All right. Find someone else who's going through the same thing. I didn't have the same role, but even the same role. Reach out to your friends. You probably have a job friend that's also looking for a job. Get a coach if you can afford one. We have plenty of great ones at HireClub. Keep each other supported and accountable. So say, hey, Monday at 10 a.m., we're going to meet and we're going to just have, Zoom on and we're going to apply for jobs and talk to each other, right? Do not do your job search alone. Set times to meet with people. We have job search boot camps and mastermind groups where you can be paired with other people looking for jobs. Support and community is so important during this time. And having someone keep you accountable, whether it's a coach or a friend, is so helpful, right? I mean, I can't iterate enough how much doing the job search alone is a dangerous thing, right? You have to do it with friends. You have to do it with other people. It makes it so much easier, right? There's a saying I really love: if you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go together, right? The job search is exactly that, right? Go together with people, have help. There's nothing wrong with asking for help. All right, I'm breezing through this stuff pretty fast. I hope I'm going, this pace is okay, but let's jump into your resume, okay? So first of all, the resume is a marketing doc, not a legal or historical doc. That means the job of the resume is to sell you. You are what's for sale in the resume. So that means a couple things. One, you have to be an amazing communicator that's clear and positive, right? Writing is probably the most important skill for work. Given right now we're all remote, writing is even more important, right? Because we're not in person, we don't get a chance to communicate. So focus on your writing, take writing courses if you can. Brag about your wins. Don't be shy, right? The resume is the one place where I would encourage you to name drop, talk about companies you've worked with, talk about successes you've had, talk about executives you've worked with, talk about awards you've gotten, right? The biggest problem I see in actually resumes is not that you aren't amazing, it's that your writing doesn't make it clear how you are amazing. So a good example, we were doing a resume review for a client, and he'd worked at a company for 6 years. And in that time, he had 7 promotions, but his resume didn't list that. And then having 7 promotions in 6 years is fantastic. It shows that someone trusted you, gave you money, and then gave you more money. In fact, having promotion on your resume is one of the best things you can have, right? Always list your promotions. But unless you talk about your wins, no one else will know. So often, people look at their resumes and they're like, oh, I'm not getting hits. Someone, I don't feel great. Oh, no one's seeing my value. It's not that they're not seeing your value. It's typically your writing in your resume probably could be better. You could talk about your wins more. So one of the things I'll recommend is doing what's called a work journal, okay? So what that is take September 2020, write down what you were proud of. August 2020, write down what you were proud of. July 2020, write down what you were proud of. And go back as far as you can and talk about what you were proud of at work. Take that content and that becomes your bullets on your resume, right? When people are proud at work, it's really clear in the interviews. Sometimes you don't realize something is a win. Yes, that's really important. We often downplay our wins. One thing you can do is ask your coworkers, ask your bosses, what did I do great on? What did you like about my work, right? Feel free to get feedback, right? But this is a really big problem in resumes is people don't make it clear how amazing they are, right? So this is super important. We do have a free professional resume template that you can use. It's just new.hireclub.com/resumes. One thing I'll encourage you is don't spend time on the design, right? Focus on the content. A lot of people will say like, oh, let me adjust the fonts and let me adjust the design and all this. That is busy work and that will not make progress. You can have a great resume that's just plain text, okay? It's the content that matters. And we're gonna jump into that content in a second. Same thing for the length of a resume. This is something we often get questions on. How long should my resume? Does it have to be a page? Blah, blah, blah. Here's what I say. Aim for 2 pages, right? But focus on the best content being on the first page. If you were doing a doc for your boss and the most important content was on the second page, it wouldn't be a good doc, right? So focus on the first page, having your clear content. Really the last 5 years of your career is really what really matters. In the last 5 to 10 years, ideally. Even when I was doing 20 years ago, it was important, it's wonderful, but most people care about your recent work. So really that's where you want to spend the most time on, right? If you're a writer, you want to improve your writing, start a blog, get on Twitter, communicate with people. A lot of people will look at your social media and say how you write. That's how they get to know what kind of thinker you are. Are you someone that's caring? Are you someone that's kind? Are you someone that's really goes in depth into topics, right? So it's not just your resume that's your writing tool, but whether it's your personal website or a blog, those can be all wonderful tools as part of your what we call your personal brand, okay? So let's go into what the bullets are. If there's anything you remember about the resume, this is really super important. Focus on your business impact. Okay? What did you do to make that business better? Don't just list your responsibilities. I'll give you an example. If I was a chef and my resume said I cut vegetables and I made dinner, that'd be a pretty horrible resume, right? But if I said I invented a new recipe and increased Friday night sales by 10%, that's amazing, right? It shows you're inventive. It shows your business focus. It's showing you have impact on the business. Jay had a question about resumes created on Canva. Canva can be a wonderful tool. Again, most people get focused on the design. Our resume template has been vetted by over 100 recruiters. We've gotten feedback that people start using it and immediately they see results. So I'm obviously particular for ours. Again, it's free. It doesn't cost you any money at all to use it. And I'll paste the link in here so you all have access to it. But definitely, Canva can be good. Sometimes there's resumes that are like too designed, right? So what that means is they're having fancy icons and having these crazy colors. There's nothing wrong with that necessarily, but I want you to focus on the content. I don't want you to do that busy procrastination work that I've done in the past where like you're browsing 500 different times the resume templates to find the right one. That's not what matters. Again, focus on the content, focus on the writing, okay? But Canva can be fine. What you want is a tool that can output PDFs at the end of the day, because when you submit your resume, it should be a PDF for the most part, or a plain text version, right? And Canva, I don't think does plain text. So, and we have plain text output on ours. So let's go back to our resume bullets. So the formula I say for a bullet is metric plus time plus reason, okay? So I'll give you an example. Increase sales by 30% in 6 months by redesigning the landing page after extensive customer interviews. So you're telling me that you had an impact on the business. You're telling me how long it took. And you're telling me how you did it, right? This is a fantastic bullet. And I want you all to figure out what your metrics are. Now, here's the first thing. Every client comes to us and says, I don't know my metrics. Well, guess what? Your boss probably does. They're tracking you. They're tracking your performance. And if you're not tracking your performance, you're losing out. So go ask your boss, what are our KPIs? What did I do great on? Figure them out. A metaphor I often use is 10 years ago, none of us were talking about 10,000 steps a day. Now all of us are talking about 10,000 steps a day. That metric was always there. So this is some creative work you will have to do. Yes, you'll have to figure out what your metrics were. We had a resume that we reviewed for a client who was a server, a waitress at a restaurant. And she turned it around and improved her resume by saying, I increased sales by $3,000 over the month by promoting specials and nightly sushi specials. Even though she was a waiter, that's a fantastic metric, right? She's talking about her business impact, right? So no matter what your job is, you can always talk about business impact. And I know, look, the metric thing is where a lot of people get stuck on, but look at if you were hiring someone, put yourself in the hiring manager's shoes. If you have someone that has a track record of getting $5,000 in sales or coaching 10 people to be better employees or reaching out to a major brand like Coca-Cola and getting a new deal, you'd want to hire that person, right? Same thing for you. So in your bullets, there's typically a few subjects you want to focus on. So each bullet should be focused on a few subjects. So one is revenue. That's an easy one, okay? The next one is cost savings. I saved the company X amount of money, or I increased efficiency by X amount of percent. The other one is leadership, right? And so that one can be something like I coached 10 people, I hired 10 people, I managed 12 people, I was part of the hiring process to bring on board 3 new devs, right? Talk about how you're a leader. The other one is expertise, right? So that's like you started a new product, you showed how you were better than anyone else at this. This is also related to recognition is another bullet you can talk about. So that's you got an award, you were highlighted for something. Those are great bullets to talk about. Scale is another bullet, right? So scale being we launched in 4 different countries. We launched in 4,000 different cities. We had over 50,000 people come to our events, right? So scale is your impact. A budget. I manage a $500,000 budget. This is a big one, especially if you're someone like an EA where sometimes metrics are hard to find. EA is all about trust, right? So the kind of scale of the trust that you were doing with, right, you're working on is super important, right? So, this is a really important thing to focus on these bullets. And each bullet should be focused on one subject, by the way. Don't try to use run-on sentences and be like 1,000 things in one bullet. What you want to aim for is 3 to 5 bullets per job. Most recent job having 7 bullets, right? Again, your most recent experience is super important, and you can talk more about that, but you don't need to list, again, 20 bullets for one job. That's not really going to help you that much, right? Matthew, you're so welcome. You're so welcome. I'm happy to help. This is what I love doing. So let's go into interviewing. Okay, so interviewing is a lot of what happens is test anxiety. If you've ever had to do like an SAT test or any kind of test, a lot of people freeze and they lock up, and that's tough, right? And with video interviewing, it's even tougher because you don't have the social signals. So here's some tips we'll go over. So first things first, pretend you are a consultant and they've hired you at $100 an hour to help them. Oh, hey, I see you're working on a new landing page. What are your challenges you're facing on that? What is successful like in the next 30 to 60 days? Where are the main problems that you're having, right? Flip the narrative. You are there to help. You are a skilled consultant that is really good at what you're doing, and you're not there to be evaluated. You're there to help, right? So when you flip that narrative, it often removes test anxiety for a lot of people. But that's really one of the most important things you can do in interviews. People want to get to know you, the real you. So if you're anxious, it makes it really hard. But if you're helpful, for most people, that makes it really easy. Definitely practice your interviewing. There's a lot of tools out there. You can practice with a coach. You can videotape yourself. There's a lot of questions you can ask yourself. Typical interview questions are like, what was a challenge at work that you had to face? Name a time that you failed. One of the big ones is, where do you want to be in 5 years? Record yourself on video answering those questions and play back that video and watch that video. You'll notice how it sounds. You'll notice if you sound confident. You'll notice where your ums and likes are. And practice makes perfect. I call interviews $100,000 meeting, right? Typically, you're going to get a salary of $50,000 or higher, usually in America. You only get one shot, right? Most companies, when they interview you, they're not going to interview you again for 6 months to a year, right? So invest in yourself to make it count, work with a coach, practice, do what you can. But interviews really are high stress because they are important, right? And I want you to invest in them. They are probably the most difficult part about the job search process, right? One of the hints, though, with interviews, they're often more about social skills versus aptitude, right? The way you talk can show how good you are at something, and your resume can show you how you're good at something. But people want to work with people they like working with. So be friendly, ask questions. If you can find some common points with your interviewers before you meet, so let's say you both went to the same college, or maybe you found out that they like, a certain kind of food that you like, or they like a certain sports team, bring that up in the beginning, right? Create kind of just like a nice environment where you're being friendly and being talkative. I know that's not always easy for everyone. You're so welcome, Melanie. That's I'm always here to help. But yeah, social skills in an interview are really important. I mean, who do you want to work with at work? People you like, right? And so if you can really create a level of friendship, a level of engagement. One other thing in interviews, I struggle with this, is slow yourself down, right? Often people will want to get to an answer really quickly. Here's a good tip. When someone asks you a question, so let's say, hey, tell me about a time you struggled at work. Flip it around and say, okay, you want to know about a time I struggled at work. Let me think about that, right? Repeat the question, turn it around. That gives you a few seconds to think, and that makes you sound like such a good listener. There's a skill set called active listening. I would Google that and research that. But when you make people feel heard, they think of you as kind and helpful, right? And so, flipping the question around and restating it is a great way to get, one, also gives yourself time to answer the question, right? And ask clarifying questions, right? Oh, hey, so what do you mean when I struggled at work? Do you mean financially, or do you mean a product? Can you give me more insight into what you're looking for, right? So make that, a dialogue. You're there to interview them just as much as they're there to interview you, right? You want to know, what kind of language are they using? Are they not interrupting you? Are they being kind themselves? You can learn a lot in the interview process, whether you want to be there or not. And so don't just make it about, you're being interviewed. What's this company like? Is this a place that you want to call home, right? What are their challenges in the next 30, 60, 90 days, right? So, interviewing, you can turn it around. You can, kind of rewrite the rules and make it work for you, right? So let's specifically talk about video interviews, which are very, very different. So the first and foremost thing that you want to think about, okay, is quality, right? Just like a great photo makes a huge impact, a great video setup makes a huge impact. I don't know if you can see my video, but I've invested a good amount of money because I do a lot of video interviews. I do a lot of video calls. Get a microphone that's professional. Get a good video DSLR, a webcam. Rode is a great brand. I'm using their microphone right here. I use a DSLR connected to a cam link, which gives it's really high, nice quality. I've purchased a light. You can purchase this all for usually less than $150 for all three things: a good light, a good camera, and a good microphone, right? And unfortunately, look, we're going to be in this pandemic for a while. Video interviews are not going anywhere. If you can find the finances to invest in that, it's super important. Most laptops do have a pretty good video camera. Be aware of the background. So I actually purchased a background that's professional. It's what photographers use to make sure it looks nice and clear. But like, don't have weird things in your background. Don't have a lot of distractions in your background. If a lot of home offices, you can set it up in a way where there's just, really great kind of clean look. One of the things you can do is face the window. So there's the window, then the camera, and then you. That'll give you great lighting. So even if you don't have the money to purchase a light, natural light looks really fantastic, okay? It can make a lot of wonders. In video interviewing, a lot of judgments happen, right? The quality of the interview, the audio quality, can they hear you clearly, what your background looks like. Unfortunately, we're human and we do make these judgments. I wish we didn't, but that's just part of how we think. And so quality makes a big difference. So if you look professional and sound professional, people will have a better impression of you, right? Big one, turn off all notifications, turn off any ringers or phones. If you have kids running around, if you can find a way to get them, whether they're watching a video or something, or if you can lock yourself in a room that has quiet, having a distractions free, even if it's 15, 30 minutes, is super important. Be careful outside noise or like construction that's going on, right? It's like being on the air, it really is. It's like being on the air if you're on a TV show, right? You really want to make a good impression, right? And also wear pants. I know it's COVID, and we all want to relax, but like I'm wearing my branded T-shirt, wear nice clothing, dress up a little bit, take a shower, keep your same habits that you would normally do when you're doing normal work stuff. I know in the job search it's easy to get lazy and like kind of be like, I'm in my PJs, but this is a real interview. The more you dress for the role, dressing for success really does make a difference, right? So what do you do after the interview? Right. By the way, if anyone has questions, feel free to jump in. So you want to follow up, right? And this is a very common question we get. Follow up twice after each interaction. So if you haven't heard the first time, follow up and say, hey, what are the next steps? I'd love to proceed. Had a great time, talking to you. If you don't hear back, wait a few days, follow up again. If it's a phone screen, send a thank you note, ask about next steps. It's an interview, send a thank you note, ask about next steps. Right? If you don't hear back, wait a week, send a kind, curious follow-up. Don't hear back still, send one more week, the week after. One thing to keep in mind, people are busy. You don't want to send it too often. So once a week is a good cadence, right? Look at their cadence. How often are they responding to you? Once a week is probably fine. People are busy right now. Just like you're having a hard time with the pandemic, and workers at jobs and recruiters and hiring managers are having a hard time. Life is nuts. It's not personal. I know it's really easy you kind of get like hard and feel rejected. I actually want to use the word decline, not the word rejected. The words we use are really important. So if something doesn't work out, it's a decline. It's not personal. Focus the main part of your energy on your next opportunity. I often say job searching is fire and forget. So you go apply, you do what you can with a referral, you do your best shot, and you move on to the next one. If you get hung up on one particular job that you think is your dream job, you will just get hurt, right? It's really about numbers, right? You want to put yourself out there, and the right job will recognize you when you have, your networking, resume, and interview skills down, right? If they're not recognizing you for your value, do you really want to work there? And it's hard to convince people of your value post-interview, right? They'll see it in there. Your resume you can definitely update to show more value, but don't beat yourself up. Right. What often happens is people are like, oh, I didn't get this. I'm not good at what I'm doing. I would change it and say, okay, what could have I improved, right? What value or strength do I have that I not make clear to them, right? Focus on what you can improve, not where it went wrong, right? I know it's easier said than done. Look, the job search is just hard, and COVID makes it harder. There's no questions about that. But really treating yourself well is super important, right? An example of an email you can send: hey team, just checking in on next steps. I know times are hectic lately, but I would love to continue chatting. Hope you have an awesome day. Short and sweet, keep it positive. It's just really easy to just send these out short emails about it. You want to use their first name, that's great. You want to find a connection point. Hey, love chatting about, Chicago Bulls and the product manager role. Let me know about next steps. I'm really interested in learning more and moving forward, right? Make it clear, make it easy. That's it, right? Short and simple is sweet. Follow up 1 week later. If you don't hear back, follow up another week later. Move on in the meanwhile, right? The next opportunity is out there. Keep going. Don't get hung up on one job, okay? Wow, we went through everything pretty quickly. Awesome. So I'm going to scroll back up. Is there any particular things for Q&A that you all have questions on that I missed? You just post them in the job chat. And so one thing I'll do while we're sharing this, I will share with you our resume builder that you can use, and you can see how it works. It's a fantastic tool. So you're going to go to new.hireclub.com/resumes. You're going to create an account, and you click create resume, and it'll walk you through the whole process. If you have a HireClub account, it'll bump in all your skills. So the first thing you want to have on your resume is a subtitle. So let's say you're applying for a designer job, your subtitle will be designer, right? By the way, the first thing you're gonna do is let's look for a design job, right? So designer jobs. The job you're applying for is always a cheat sheet, right? So here's a visual designer. That's the job I'm applying for. I'm gonna read it. I'm gonna look at what skills are listed, and I'm gonna do the research to see if my resume matches that. And then what I'll do is I'll change my subtitle to match that, right? Visual designer, great. So that gets all that set up. Now go read this and look at what they're talking about. They talk about Photoshop, Illustrator, Sketch. So make sure you have those skills set up on your thing. So jump into skills and say, hey, I'm gonna have Photoshop, Illustrator, I can't spell right now, web design, Sketch, etc. You want your skills and your resume to be tailored for each job you're applying for, okay? Janet has a question. Oh, we have a lot of questions. Okay, great. Hold on, let me jump one at a time. Okay, Karen's first. Lately, I haven't been getting feedback after rejections. What do you do in a situation that you know you want to improve on? So this is why we have coaching, by the way. It's really hard to get feedback. There's a lot of legal reasons where companies can't give you feedback. So the first and foremost, practice with a coach, practice with a friend. Companies often can't give you that feedback. You can ask them. You can say, hey, is there anything you can do to help me focus on what I can improve, right? You can ask them. If you get an answer, great. If you don't worry about it. There's a lot of legal reasons they can't answer that. I hope that answers your question, Karen. I'm going to jump to Imran. How do you approach gaps in work history? So let me save this resume and go back to another one I have. It's actually a great question. So be clear. Oh, wrong thing. Be clear on your work history and what happened in your job. So a lot of times sometimes we've seen people have like a sabbatical or a break. So we have people who've been a caretaker. Right, so we've seen people do this on their resume where they say, I was a caretaker, I was at home, my mother was diagnosed with cancer, I managed all aspects of her treatment and care, including appointments, medications, and prognosis, right? If you have a gap that's due to other reasons, you can just highlight it on your resume. If you don't want to put it on your resume, talk about it during your cover letter or talk about it during your thing. Gaps less than 3 months, I wouldn't worry about. Gaps of a year or more, you definitely want to talk about. If you're returning to work, you can even list that. You can say, I was a stay-at-home parent. I managed 4 kids and all their schedules. You can talk about it, right? Janet, all the notes are shared. The link is visible, but I'll paste the link again so you can look at it. Other gaps in your work history, if you got laid off, I wouldn't necessarily talk about that. If you got laid off due to COVID, everyone understands that right now. So any gaps you have from basically this year, I don't even want you to worry about it because there's 29 million other people like you right now. So don't worry about that. Nargis has a question. Nargis, I hope I'm saying that name correctly. How would you handle a lack of experience in the current area you're looking to start a career in? That's a wonderful question. So our most common clients are what we call career changers or career transitioners, right? What you can do is one, when you're applying, let's say you are a developer and you want to be a product manager, right? What you can do is one, list your bullets in how they apply to product management. So, look at some other product manager resumes, talk to people about like your admirer calls, ask them what worked for them, and do some research. But basically, you can tailor your bullets to the skills that you use that apply to the new role, right? Even as a developer, you're doing some PM types of tasks, right? You're doing some cross-functional work, right? The other thing you can do, I've always found hackathons and building your own projects is a wonderful way to build experience. You don't need to wait for anyone's permission necessarily to get experience, right? Work with nonprofits. Let's say you want to be a designer and you've never been a designer. Ask a nonprofit you can help you design their website, right? You can get experience without permission, right? I know it's not always easy. Internships and apprenticeships work really well for that as well. But that is one way of tackling it. But yeah, this is a very common problem. A lot of people who are career transitioners come to us for coaching because of that. You want to frame the narrative basically as part of your new role. All right, Valeria has a new question. I'm not active on any social media. Had an interview mentioned I'm not visible. Any proper comments to reply to that reply? So a couple things. It's 2020. Social media matters. I wish it didn't, but it's true, right? Whether you're on LinkedIn or Twitter, right? Get your word out there. Consider it part of your personal brand. The resume is one part of your personal brand, but the other things like your social media can be part of your personal brand. Blogs that you have written can be part of your personal brand. So even if you don't want to be on Twitter, you can write blogs, right? But definitely get something up there. Get your own domain if that's what you want to do. But it's more about trust. If they get to know you, if they get to know how you think, they're going to trust you more. So it's in your it's in your fault or your negative if you don't have a good social media presence. You don't need to have thousands of followers. You just need to have good writing, right? You just need to make it clear how you think and how you talk, right? Another question from Melanie. What if you're changing careers and you don't have strong metrics to write for the bullet points on your resume? Your past successes still count, Melanie. Knowing that you can make business impact on your other roles are just as important because that initiative and that kind of gumption is going to work across all roles, right? And so that really matters. It doesn't have to be for the exact same career, but people want to work with people that get things done, right? So however you got done in the past, that's a wonderful thing to talk about, right? Tanya, thank you for the nice words. Hold on, we had a question. Am I Mrs. Portion? Do you have any tips for reaching out, connecting on LinkedIn? What are the most important things to include for the headlines and about sections? Okay, so a couple things. We actually do LinkedIn workshops. So get on HireClub, register for our email list when you have an account, and we do actually LinkedIn workshops where you review your LinkedIn and give you feedback on it. I did give a sample kind of reach out message I listed earlier. It is right here. Where is it? For your admirer calls. I'll paste this example in the chat right here. It's just short and sweet, right? But make it easy for people to say yes, right? Do all the work for them. So the most important things, including the headline about sections, a couple things. Don't have a compound skill set in your headline. So then don't say you're a product manager, developer, and designer. That's too much, right? It slices and dices juliennes. Hiring is usually about hiring specialists. The larger the company, the more specialized the knowledge. So you want to be the best at something. And remember, the resume is a marketing document. Just because you have multiple skills doesn't mean you can't market just one skill, right? Even so, if you have done lots of things, you can focus your headline and resume on the thing that you're wanting to apply for, right? And so make who you are and what you're good at really clear in the headline, right? Award-winning designer focused on consumer apps. Wow, really fantastic, right? Thoughtful and caring, customer success manager, love helping people grow their business, right? Nice and simple. The goal of the headline and kind of the bio section on a resume or your LinkedIn is to help you get remembered. It's more personal, it's more unique. Don't focus on using a lot of buzzwords in your headlines or bios, because I feel like people don't connect to that. I call it LinkedIn speak, right? Like, I'm looking to engage my skill set in finding myself. It becomes like super boring. And I want to get to know you, right? What are you good at? What do you care about? What's your own language? So I'll give you an example. So my personal bio is I love designing beautiful consumer experiences, and I like eating lunch outside on a sunny day. I've actually gone into interviews and they prepared lunch outside for me. Think about your bio like a tagline, like Nike, just do it. You remember that, right? You know what they're going for. State Farm, what is it? Wait, I forgot the State Farm tagline. That's really funny. Like a good neighbor, State Farm is there, right? What is your kind of unique selling point that's memorable? That's the goal of your bio or your tagline, right? It's not really about listing every single fact. It's more about, hey, do I want to work with this person? Are they creative and fun, right? All right, next question I think is from Kira. If you're fresh out of university boot camp or in your first role, how should the relative space be given in the resume change? I think Kira, if I understand your question correctly, you're saying that let's say you were a different role, let's say customer success, and you're now going to become a developer. Just list it out. List out your past jobs, and in your bio, talk about how you made that change. Address it honestly. Don't try to hide it. You can list the jobs and you can list the bullets how they are relevant to your new skill set. So let's say you became from customer success to developer. You're caring about what customers say about your product. You're having an eye for detail. You're making sure that their quality is strong. Those are all things developers need to do, right? But you can also show off projects. If you're in a boot camp, typically they'll have like a capstone or a keystone project where you've like built something as part of the boot camp. So those are wonderful things that you can talk about during that. But yeah, just address it. Be clear about it. You can always say things like junior developer or something like that to make it clear that you're getting your start. There's nothing wrong with that. I often say the more clear and direct and honest you are about where you are in your career. And look, the average person changes career 5 times in America throughout their life. So you are not the only one going through this. It's really common. So it's an understood thing. And recruiters and hiring managers know that. I will say the market is harder right now for juniors because of less money out there, more competition. People are focusing on seniors. But this is where you build your own projects. This is where you work with nonprofits. This is where you get your own hands-on experience to build that experience, right? Let me just grab a glass of water here. How do I spin a failed business? Well, welcome to the Bay Area. Everyone has startups that are failed. I've had failed startups. What did you learn, right? Failure is part of your career. Everyone has experienced failures, right? What you learn from the failure is really important. It really shows what kind of thinker you are, how thoughtful you are. You can show what you tried. You can show the traction that you did have. I don't think failure is the worry. It's lack of learning. That's the worry. Hey, Kiana, the doc is, I'll paste the link again. Give me 1 second. I think it was actually pasted earlier. Yep, there it is. I'll paste it again. That should work. Let me know if you all have any questions. But yeah, how do I turn off my screen sharing? Hold on 1 second. Nope, that didn't work. There we go. Okay. Yeah, so happy to connect to all of you. I know we're all about out of time. You can connect with me on HireClub.com or my email, Ketan@HireClub.com. Happy to answer any questions. You all have been wonderful. Yep, I'm pasting that info right now. It's also at the top of the doc. If you're looking to talk to a coach, you can always go to this URL and it'll match you to a coach based on what your goals are. But yeah, always here to help. This is what I love to do. Love helping people in their careers. Thank you very much. You're welcome, Gloria. Yep, Jennifer, a lot of this works for getting ahead in current roles. Yes, it's a wonderful way of doing it. You're welcome. You're welcome. You're always so kind.